ahead and start getting going here. Um, I will scoot along in our slideshow. This is a picture of my classroom, and I like showing it before I even introduce myself, just simply to kind of tell you a story along these accessibility lines. When I was a first year teacher teaching at an old Catholic school building, I had a new student. I went to introduce myself, and he spoke Spanish, and I only speak a little Spanish, so it was very difficult to communicate. Luckily, we had some good resources. But this right here, and we're going to talk about it more in a second, is a translator built directly into PowerPoint. It's just already in there. You should be seeing it under slideshow. We're going to talk more about that feature. This is in English, but it could have been in Spanish, French, a bunch of different languages. And you could find more information there at translator.microsoft.com. We're also going to be talking about some other updates. And then in this Team Lives events too, I don't know exactly what it looks like on your end, but I do know that there was options for some translated subtitles. So I clicked those on. So if you would like subtitles as well on your end, you can do that. I chose not to do it over the whole screen just today because I wanted to show it on PowerPoint. But let's go ahead and kind of get introduced here. My name's Adam Rummelhart. That's my email and Twitter account up there. Shameless plug for Twitter followers.
I'm
go ahead.
Captain. I'm the Technology Integration Specialist at St. Francis High School in Wheaton, Illinois, and we are one-to-one with Microsoft Surface Pros, and we're a Microsoft Showcase School.
Mm-hmm. So if you have any Microsoft EDU accessibility questions, feel free to reach out to both of us, either of us. We can definitely get connected. I do free professional development. So if you like, oh, I love this webinar, can I do it for my whole school? Yes, definitely. We can work that out. And I also like showing this picture here because this wasn't my classroom, but this is my school. Could have been my classroom from 1962. And one thing you'll probably, if you look at the desks and you compare it to the picture here, everybody's in rows, still me teaching at the front. You may notice the desks in the back are actually those desks from 1962 that they're using. They're over here on the side, and the chairs right here still worked perfectly in 2013. But I kind of came to this realization. I don't know if there's any Office fans out there. Corbin needs you to find the difference between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture. So how was I innovating my classroom in order to empower students to achieve more? And the answer is I really wasn't. And Microsoft had something similar. We can all play along at home. Who's this guy? That is Bill Gates. And when he founded Microsoft, this was the original mission statement: a computer on every desk and in every home. Seems kind of fitting for a tech company, but when Satya came in, the new CEO, he changed the mission statement, and it is now empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So it's not solely tech facing. How can we do to empower all sorts of different people? And that's really where accessibility comes in. Colleen and I were at a really great event for MIE experts, MIE Summit in Redmond in January, and we heard the Vice President of U.S. Education Worldwide. I always forget his name, or his title, Anthony Salcido, and he gave kind of a keynote. And one of the things that I really appreciated, and I know everybody in the room really appreciated, is he said he hates when he talks to people and they say that accessibility is a differentiator between us and another company. That's not the mindset at all. It is not supposed to be a differentiator. It is supposed to be something that is available to everybody. And you guys know all these statistics. I don't know, Colleen, if you had something you want to chime in there.
Well, more of what we're seeing now, especially as sort of the educational landscape is changing. We're getting more students that are realizing that they learn differently and they don't necessarily fit the traditional model that we've been seeing for years and years and years. So part of what I really love about what we're going to be showing you today is all of these tools that are sort of baked right into the things that they're using on a daily basis that can support what they need, but they don't need to ask permission. They don't need to like get the bathroom pass, so to speak, to go do their accessibility. They can just turn it on for themselves, whether they're at home, they're at school, they're, you know, on the bus. It's completely open to what they need.
Yeah, someone on Twitter, I was in a tweet meet, called them, instead of saying accessibility tools, he said they're productivity tools. That's the way to think about it. And so I just like showing this slide too. This is an accessibility sway, which kind of covers everything under the sun for Microsoft accessibility, from, you know, gaming to screen readers. So it's pretty cool. Today, we're going to kind of break this up with reading, writing, math, and communication, just as different ways to make an inclusive classroom. And the first thing I'm going to do is jump off to learning tools in OneNote, but I like showing this to show you that learning tools is everywhere. So I will hop out.
So a bit of what this is with Microsoft Learning Tools, they sort of started in OneNote. It used to be a separate plugin that you had to download specifically for OneNote 2016, and the features went over so well that they have started trickling into every aspect of Microsoft Office. So from most of what we're showing you with Immersive Reader, anywhere you see that Immersive Reader logo, doesn't matter what program or website you're on, it will do these things. And same with a lot of the other great tools we're going to show you. Wherever you find them in the Microsoft ecosystem, even if it's not where you originally thought they started, they may have sort of migrated over and is now giving you those same accessibility features, but in a different program.
Exactly. They should all be under, whether it's like Word or OneNote, and we'll break them down. They're also in Flipgrid and Teams. Look for that logo, little book with the speaker for the Immersive Reader. And so I'm going to click on it, and it's going to bring us into this nice immersive view for reading. So you'll notice it brings the text up. I don't remember if I clicked the button when presenting, whether or not for the sound to go through. I don't know if you can hear that, but this will read it aloud, tracking the line and the word. And you can actually increase, decrease the voice speed. And so at the end of this deck, and I'm going to share this out to Lindsay to share with all the attendees, there's actually an 80-page deck that Mike Tolfson, who's the program manager for OneNote, he did at BET, which is like the ISTE of Europe. It's in England. And that has a bunch of different research papers in it about how schools are actually just using this, the voice speed, to increase words per minute and reading comprehension. And you could, of course, change the voice from female to male. I asked for more voices. No word yet on Morgan Freeman, but fingers crossed. We also hear of the text preferences. So increase the text size, decrease. As Colleen was saying, you don't have to get that hall pass. As a student, I had a 504 plan because I had some trouble reading, some trouble tracking with my eyes. And so I was allowed to have text blown up here, but I never would ask for it, right? I would always never ask for it, but luckily my mom was a speech pathologist, so she would call and say, hey, you should, you know, increase these just for everybody, right? And so this is a great tool for that you could increase, decrease the text size. We also have these different fonts. And so some people may be thrown off by Comic Sans, like, why did it switch to that? Well, these two fonts here, Calibri and Sitka, they're the best for students with dyslexia. These are the fonts that Microsoft's actually done research on. However, if you look at like geography, right, nobody writes their G like that. Nobody writes their A like that. So some students came back and said, you know, we want a different font because if you're, let's say, you know, in kindergarten, maybe using this tool, or, you know, first grade and you're learning how to write, this isn't going to necessarily be helping you, whereas Comic Sans would. Same thing here with the different colors, the background. Students with dyslexia might like these different filters. I know people are always concerned about screen time and stuff, so I like these as well. Feel free to jump in, Colleen, too, if you have anything.
Part of what I like about the first panel is they pulled all of the things that scientifically proven through their research and other research that has been going on for dozens of years. These are all the things that are proven to help improve reading comprehension and understanding what you are reading. The other two tabs that we're going to go through, they're also helpful, but they are the really big impact ones are all right here on one screen. So if you set these settings once, if you go through and you put a specific text size on, if you pick a certain font, a certain coloring, it will remember the next time you hop in. So if you help your students pick a certain setup that really suits what they need, whether it's coloring, font, spacing, things like that, the next time they hop in, you don't have to worry about them resetting all of their settings. It should just remember the last settings that you had.
Yeah, that's a great point. And next, like this one, I always joke, I ask, do we have any reading teachers, and say that everybody's a reading teacher. But you have the ability to break it down into syllables, so I joke no clapping in class anymore.
Yeah.
But what I really like here is that you can turn the parts of speech on, and it has the labels here. And so there's lots of different lessons that people, if I click out here for a second so you can see everything that people have talked about, you know, from English writing, reading. It was originally designed for students whose English is their second language, so that they could see how the sentences were formatted. But it's a really cool feature to be able to break these down. And one of the things I like about it too is, in addition, you can change these colors, but it also has the little abbreviations up here. Because one thing we need to think about is when you're standing in front of a class, 1 in 12 men are colorblind. I believe that's the statistic now, or colorblind or color deficient. And so that's something next time you're teaching in front of a class to think about. And so when they came in and did these, originally you had to keep the colors. But then people came back and been like, you know, I can see this color better than that one, or they just want the labels to be able to do.
And if you have we have a very, very particular English teacher in our faculty. You may have one as well. The labeling the parts of speech is like 98, 99% accurate. There's always going to be sentences that don't quite fit. They're funky, they're long, they're run on, whatever it might be. But for the most part, it's going to be accurate. Just because I know that is a question I tend to normally get when I'm presenting.
Yeah. And then our last one here, we have our reading preferences. This would have, another thing that would have made my mother cry. I still read with, you know, a finger tracking across, but when I was a student, I used to have a piece of paper with a hole cut out in it. I used to use it for, you know, Scantron tests, for reading, for whatever the case may be. And so this line focus feature would have been very helpful for me for my reading. And so you could do a little bit bigger, help people focus in. And then this last feature is kind of a huge game changer that everybody gets excited about. You have a picture dictionary and the ability to translate, and we'll start with by word. So let's say you're a student who's emerging bilingual, or someone who's somebody told me is the new term, which I like, and they come to, let's say, Earth, and they don't know what the word Earth is. So they can hear it aloud in English, hear it aloud in Spanish, and then they have the picture dictionary as well to help them out. And so this is by Boardmaker. So it's not for every word, but if Boardmaker has it, we put it in there. And I really like this because some of the things we always don't think about is that, you know, students' reading levels, you know, they may be, let's say, a freshman in high school, but, you know, and they read in Spanish, they're reading at, let's say, a 7th grade or an 8th grade level. And so when you go through this, you know, they may come to a Spanish word that they don't know, but when they hear it, right, they know.
Yeah, we use this pretty heavily in our school. We've got a good sized population of international students from China. So they will come to us with, you know, a 9th, 10th, 12th grade level of understanding of the content. So they could be in AP biology, but they may be reading English at a 6th grade level. So if you can imagine trying to do AP biology at a 6th grade level, it's just not practical. It's really challenging. So what they're able to do is they can come in and they can translate word for word if they just are having trouble with a specific word, or they can do what Adam just did here and instantly translate the entire document. And this is not like where you dump a paragraph into Google Translate and it comes back with like weird conjugations. This is super accurate translation. It's in dozens and dozens of languages. If you name a language, it is most likely able to be translated here. So it doesn't matter how obscure the language is that your international students or your kids may be in your community, they can all come in and they can translate for themselves. They don't need to wait for a translator, for an aide, to go get the computer, because you don't even need to be connected to the internet for this to work for you.
Yeah, I love the fact that there's all these different languages and they're adding more and more every day. Microsoft's a worldwide company, and I've been on worldwide calls with MIE experts who come out and say, okay, I really need this language. But one of the things I like pointing out is that I know for in my school as well, and other people always ask schools, there are different Spanishes. So we have Latin America, Mexico, and Spain. So it can differentiate between those. And it's same thing with like, we have different Serbian, Portuguese, I want to say even, yeah, different French, different German, even different English, which is kind of crazy, and then all the different Chinese.
That's
So
the
there's
most Chinese languages I've ever seen in a translator. Normally you
right,
get 2, and that I think had 5.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, which is
6.
really nice.
1, 2, 6, not even 5, 6.
Yeah, as I said, I mean they keep adding new ones because people worldwide are working on doing all this, which is great. And the one last thing I like to say is that this can work too, let's say for your students in foreign language classes. I know sometimes foreign language teachers are like, well, it's translating everything for them. I'm like, yes, but let's do it this way. So we'll put in a Spanish one and have them translate, and they'll walk through, and let's say they come to a word they don't know. Let's see, what word is this? And so it'll then translate, right, for them here. So rather than them just doing, for us, it was there's a Spanish to English dictionary in the back of the room, just the one of them we all had to share for 30 kids. Now I'm sure everybody looks it up on their device, but now you can go through and you can look at the different words, right? And so this to me is really great that you're able to do it this way. And so I think this is kind of a neat new way of doing Spanish.
We had somebody in the Q&A panel ask if you can use this with Microsoft Word, if this Immersive Reader has this capability. If you are using Microsoft Word Online, there is Immersive Reader built right into Microsoft Word Online. What we do, since we use the desktop version of Microsoft Word at our school, you can always copy and paste anything into a OneNote page, because this Immersive Reader will work with text you have typed onto the screen. It'll also work with if you have a PDF or a Word document that you have printed into your OneNote. If you have a picture from a textbook that you drop into your OneNote, it will read that. It'll even read your handwriting if you are writing on the page in OneNote. So anything that you put in, any type of content you have, it will be able to read to you, to your students, because I even use this if I am just low on time and trying to multitask. I'll drop a document that I need to read and approve into here and just have it read to me while I'm washing the dishes or doing something else.
Yeah, actually, my wife, when she was still in college a few years ago, she wanted me to read an essay to her out loud, and so I put it in the Immersive Reader. She didn't think I was as clever as I thought I was, but she enjoyed it because it read it aloud for her, and if it didn't make sense, she was able to pause it and fix it. And then I like showing it here. We have you can switch then between with Spanish. You can use the verbs to switch back and forth to see the sentence structure. And I know this one's a little bit, I'll see if I scroll up if it'll show the whole sentence. And so I think that's invaluable. This isn't for every language that's available for the translation, but it is coming. So I think, again, for like a foreign language class or just, emerging bilingual, whoever, this to me would be invaluable. And I'm going to turn these off because otherwise when I go through my demo, it spoils them right away. Next time I come
remembers.
Yep, it remembers where it's at, so it'll keep it up there. And then as Colleen said, if you took a picture of something, I'm using an app, Office Lens here. This is a free app for your phone that has Immersive Reader built right into it, actually. So I've seen kids in like library will pull out their phone and read a book using the Office Lens. You could also send it to OneNote and have it read aloud. There's also, if I come here too, this is a PDF. It'll read a PDF aloud. All great stuff. And as Colleen was saying, and actually let me jump back here. We'll put it in the nice PowerPoint slide since it looks a little bit different, a little bit better. You can see here, we call this the periodic table of learning tools. I know it's overwhelming. The thing you just need to keep in mind for most people is it's going to be in all the different versions of OneNote. It's going to be, all the features will be in the web version, and most of the features will be in the desktop version. And then we do have features in Outlook, Teams. If you're a Flipgrid user, and you go to Flipgrid and you do an assignment, it'll actually have the little book there that it'll read aloud for you. It's also in Forms. If you're not using Microsoft Forms, I think this is like the little hidden gem of Microsoft. It's great for accessibility tool for a bunch of different reasons, but Forms, you can make quizzes in there, and you'll actually have them read aloud, which I find amazing because that's something that I know all students really need. It was something kind of the best part.
If you used Forms a while ago and it did not impress you because it didn't have a ton of question types, they have updated it. I don't know how recently they updated it, but I went in and I was pleasantly surprised that all of the questions that I used to have to go back to Google Forms to get, they now have them available.
Yeah, I definitely say Forms. Yeah, like if you were like a year ago at the beginning of the school year, last year, like, oh, I checked it out, it wasn't anything special. Yeah, they've been working on that one real hard, so I really like that. And then also I like pointing out too, it's in the Edge browser in Office Lens. And then also, if there's anybody here like, oh, I love that, I'm a Google school though, what do I do? Somebody actually created an extension for Google Chrome that'll work on Google Docs. Alice Keeler has a step-by-step instruction. If you followed me on Twitter, I tweeted it out a while ago, but I can also, at the end of this, Colleen or somebody else reminded me, I can find it and drop it into the chat if somebody's interested. And then my favorite part about this is that, as we said, this is not a differentiator between us and other people. These are our third parties. They're not Microsoft. And they have Immersive Reader built right in. So if you use PowerSchool or Canvas, I know a lot of people use Pear Deck or Bouncy, Wakelet, Merge EDU. Those are all places it's built in.
And there's more that are coming too. So they, within the past year or so, they have made it open so that companies can start pulling this technology into their website. So Nearpod was one of the first ones that grabbed it. I know we use that with the class that I teach, and it has been great to have it. And at some point, you'll just see that little speaker open book with the speaker icon. If that just shows up all of a sudden on your page, that's what that is. Even if it's not a Microsoft page, they're pulling this content, this ability to have things read to students and improve reading comprehension into tons of places.
Yep. And that you can tell your favorite, this ak.ms Immersive Reader CS link there that you can actually fill it out and say what they want. Or drop it in the chat, and next time I'm on a call with the product leaders, I'd be happy to bring it up. But the great thing about them is that they are on top of the ball game. Normally I'm like, hey, can you use this obscure one? And they're already like, yeah, we're working on it. So I'm like, oh, that's good. Now we're going to kind of transition a little bit. We did reading into writing, and I'm going to talk about some new updates that really have me excited in this portion for kind of all different things. And they come in Word too, which many people are like, Word, it's, kind of the old, same old thing with PowerPoint. Some of the cool things that you have here in Word, one that I just have to include because I'm a history guy, is you have Researcher in Word. So your students can directly do research right in here and actually save it onto the page like this one did. And why this is great is because I know when I was teaching, students always forgot where they got stuff, or if I told them to go do research, they got distracted, right? Switching between multiple apps, they'd get lost and start looking at cat videos on YouTube.
So a big thing of what all of these new tools are really trying to promote is keeping kids in one spot.
Right.
So a lot of the things with Immersive Reader, things with the Word that we're going to show you, they're available in both. They're available in the iOS version, the OneNote app for iPad, for the OneNote app on your PC desktop. They're available in the web browser. But they're trying to keep everybody in one spot. So when you assign research, they don't need to be split screening and going to 2 to 3 different windows. If they're editing their paper, they don't need to be split screening and going to 2 or 3 different windows. If they want to pull in additional content or have something read to them, they're keeping them all in one spot, and they are cutting down on distractions, because that is a really big thing when it comes to accessibility and getting all the students the resources they need, is eliminating as many distractions as we can. So the more we can keep them from traveling and having to go to 5 apps or 5 websites to get a single assignment done, the more likely they are to be successful.
Exactly. That's kind of the same thing here. You guys may not have noticed, but they've changed spell check to editor. The reason being, it's not just spell checking anymore. It's doing more than that. But one of the things I love about it is that it's showing issues in a context now, right? So I could never remember what sentence I was writing when I went to spell check, right? As you flipped down, I was like, where did I use this word? What is this word? I don't know. So it's using it in context. You can read it aloud as well. So again, built right in. I don't have to go to my immersive reader somewhere else. It's right here. And then I love that it actually has suggestions, and then underneath it has the synonyms so that I can, again, understand it. How am I supposed to spell continuous if I don't understand what continuous is? And so it also has detailed explanation of other issues here as well, what it might be and what are the suggestions. And then I always have to show this as well because people always ask about it. In the settings in your Windows 10, word prediction is just built right in. So if you just search in your Cortana or in your settings, you can turn on test suggestions, even multilingual text suggestions. I know this is how students are writing nowadays. And so a lot of people just like turning it on just to have it. But this has me super excited. This was announced in January that I love. And so this is Word Ideas. So it's going to use AI to point out issues and suggest corrections, so kind of like Editor, but it's also going to have a focus on inclusive accessibility and content, right? So getting rid of like slurs and different things like gender as well, and add things navigation.
Like guys.
Exactly. Yep. And then work on writing stance and read aloud. So right, we have the readability level down here, which is very helpful. Refinements for whether it needs to be concise or clarity, grammar, different things right there. So it's really great because it has all those different things. But what everybody kind of got excited for is that it has, using the AI, it's going to scan kind of like turnitin.com. It's going to scan to see if there's issues similar to a source. But the great thing about this is going to be pre. So this is not, this is going to be specifically for students. They're going to go and do this first, so that way they can check this out and fix it.
This is not a gotcha moment, basically. Turnitin is a bit more, I feel like, a gotcha moment. Like it's for teachers to find things that students did. And this is purely for students for their information.
Exactly, so that they know, hey, do I need to add a citation? Do I need to redo this? It's all great. And in under review, there's actually a citation maker in there. You and your students can make it and keep all of your research as well. Yeah, as I said, the gotcha. And then one thing we didn't mention in the OneNote, but it is in OneNote as well as Word and other places, is the ability to dictate and dictate in different languages. The thing I love about this is that you could have a student translate a worksheet into Spanish and then dictate their answers, and then you as a teacher can translate their answers back into English. So it's kind of a really great ability there.
I also have used that with students that they can talk to you all day about the things that they know, but when it comes time for them to put pen to paper and actually write out their essay, write out their paragraph, whatever it might be, there's just a mental block there, but they can talk to you. So if you hit that dictate button and start talking to your computer, it's going to get your students about 90% there. They'll still need to go through and clean up their punctuation and things like that. They can use the ideas panel we just showed you to clean it up. But for the most part, it will be as if they have an aide sitting with them, writing out everything that they are saying.
Exactly. There's also what they didn't mention in too. You can just record your answers as well directly in to OneNote, or again, Flipgrid's another great one for that. Presenter Coach, this preview is actually in PowerPoint Online right now, but it's really great because as I just said, right there, it'll actually come in here and you can rehearse. If your students are like, it has to be 5 minutes long, they can time it for them. And then it'll actually show you your word pace and what fillers you use here. So like words like and like and all of that, and also scan for sensitive phrases. And I really like this because if you couldn't tell by now, I'm a very quick talker, which is definitely a feedback that I get and need to slow down more.
Our speech teacher is loving this. So they normally do presentations anyways in class. So she's now having them as part of their grade, is that they need to go through Presenter Coach X number of times and rehearse. and document like what feedback they did, what they like tried to improve on, so that they are practicing their presentations, which it's really hard to document whether or not a student has practiced a presentation if they're doing it at home. So this is a really great tool that's available in PowerPoint online.
And this is a brand new feature. They just announced it. It's PowerPoint Live, so it's going to combine these subtitles I showed you before, but you're actually going to be able to present live, and then people will get a QR code or a short link. They'll be able to scan the QR code or go there, and then on any device, so we see the computer, the tablet, or the phone, they'll be able to join. And so the presentation will sync across devices. So if you're in a big lecture
like
hall,
Nearpod in that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a big lecture hall or somewhere else, it'll sync. And then it'll have subtitles on their device. So what's great about this is they'll be able to choose from over 60 languages. So imagine you're doing a presentation for parents, and you know you have parents in there that speak Spanish, Polish, French, Mandarin, whatever. You can actually have them come in, and they'll be able to join with their language, and they'll have it presented there. They'll also be able to navigate on their own slides, and so if they need to switch to a different slide and then it's broken up by slide, they'll see that translation, and also zoom in on the fly, even shift their orientation. So again, it's really nice if you're kind of in the back of the room here. And then at the end of the presentation, you can submit feedback through Microsoft Forms, which I thought is really great. I think there's also some cool things I think you could do with this as well for like student presentations, maybe, you know, to get kind of as a teacher, kind of maybe get some feedback from everybody. And so you have your communication support kind of from beginning. Designer's a new feature and are kind of old at this point, I should say. It's been a while, but Designer in PowerPoint will actually, you can see here, help design the slides for everybody to communicate. They'll be able to practice with Presenter Coach and then present with live presentations, kind of communicating your support from start to finish. And then my favorite part about this is that you can actually now bring live captions into OneNote. So
and the presenter or the PowerPoint Live, they're both still coming.
Yes.
They're doing a slow rollout this spring. So at some point when you update your apps, you'll start seeing this.
Mm-hmm. The thing I love about this is imagine you are a student in a lecture at college maybe, and you speak Spanish. You're bilingual, but you prefer Spanish. If your professor gives you that code, you can put it in, and then you can get the transcript here, you live captions, and you can have it then in Spanish, and it'll automatically save into OneNote with your highlights right there, and you can take notes next to it. The thing I love about this too is you could just keep it in English. They actually had a preview version of this where they went to colleges, and colleges students, professors were using it for, like, I think it was kind of exchange students, and then the professor's like, I don't need to use this anymore. But what they found out is that the students who spoke English were using it just to have the transcript. So they had the transcript saved right there so they could go back and look at the notes.
And even anything we've shown you with the captions, English to English captions are great for students that have hearing issues, students that just have processing delays and need to be able to go back. They're just maybe a beat behind. I know we've got a toddler at home here, and we watch TV with captions half the time because you're distracted. Your attention is split, and that can help focus you and help you stay on track with what's going on around you.
Yep, and then we're talking some math features here, and I'll jump back out and do another demo, but this is another thing that's coming for OneNote Windows 10 is an equation builder. I know a lot of math teachers came back to Microsoft, and they were using like plugins and some other things that didn't work well. Yeah. Or the big thing is they weren't copying between one or the other, and so they'll be able to build this equation right here directly in here, which I think is pretty cool. And then I'm going to jump out from Math Assist in a second, but I want to point this out. There's going to be a graphing calculator for Windows 10 as well. I'll open my video if we have. I will talk to that if we have time. But
so this math tutor he's going to show you is something that I really wish I would have had something similar to it when I was in school. I was the kid that could do all of the math in class if somebody was holding my hand, but when I went home, it was just butting heads with my dad as he tried to walk me through it. Like I needed somebody who wasn't related to me to help me with my math homework. If I had had something like this math tutor, it would have been great. So I wanted to show him what it does.
Yeah. So I'm going to write here an equation. Now, there's also plenty of the great thing about these pen tools here as well is that you can do different writing things. You can take handwritten notes, write, you can highlight over a PDF, whatever it may be. So I'm going to, I wrote this, I actually wrote this with my finger because I just realized that I didn't have my pen attached to my Surface, don't know where that is. But I wrote it with my finger and then I selected all the tests and then under here, under draw, I'm going to hit math. So everybody who's like, there's no way that computer would get it because that equation was really bad. It got it, right? It was able to do that. And the first thing I do is just ink that to math. So now I have it nice inked. So a lot of teachers are using this. And since we don't have the equation builder just yet to do the math. But then what's great is I can actually come in here. I can solve for X. And it'll actually show me the steps. And so I'm not a math teacher, but we could either do it between the square root or the quadratic formula. And it'll give me the steps, Immersive Reader built right in, and it'll say what to do to go through and do the math. And I know go ahead.
Why I love this is because it's not showing you just the generic equation at the beginning of the chapter or the lesson where you have to transpose the numbers, and it's showing you the specific problem and how you work that specific problem. Like, what do you do with that -10? What do you do with that x squared? How do you move it? It's going to walk you through, and you can even listen to it walking you through that specific problem. So our students got really excited when we showed them this initially because it solves for them. Basically, it solves the problem. But that's also nothing that the internet hasn't been doing for years now. What this does that's different, though, is it uses the artificial intelligence to read the problem and then walk you through that one, how to solve it.
Exactly. And the other cool feature that I really like is that there's the ability to generate a practice quiz. So you can do this as a math teacher, actually, when you're creating a quiz in Forms itself. That's not a good idea. I'll have to screenshot that one if it doesn't work again. Yeah, what seems like there's an issue. Let me come out and we will try it again. See if I switch like this, it'll change something. But anyways, it'll actually, the AI is smart enough to come in here. Copy that to my clipboard. Now use it, report it later. Is that the AI will scan this and will then generate 3 forms questions with the correct answer and other wrong answers, but ones that people often use, and create a practice quiz for them. So that's really just helpful so that they can kind of get that individualized support. Also, as a teacher, if you went to Forms and you typed in, there's actually a little equation builder, and there you hit the math button, x squared plus 10 equals y. The AI is smart enough to go, well, here's 5 suggested answers with the correct one. You can insert those and then be like, hey, do you want to add in 3, 4, 5 questions like this? You hit yes, and then in 30 seconds, you've created a math quiz that you can then share out and send to everybody. So it's a kind of a really cool feature.
Yeah.
And then this part I really love is that you have a graphing calculator. So I just saved you $100 on a graphing calculator, and it's going to be built into Windows 10 as well. It seems kind of, still a little bit ridiculous to me that it's on a list for students to go buy their own calculators nowadays when everybody should have a device with, a calculator built in. And so students can still, using all these tools, if I actually come over here to view, I can change these to grid lines. This is just a great way of students learning and checking. They can still come in here and use like a ruler to graph or the different shapes to graph. There's even ink to shape. If I turn this on, you'll see how my shapes come out where it'll snap it. So there's a lot of different cool tools that you can do. Plus, who just doesn't love glitter pens?
It's like the old school Jelly Roll pens.
Yeah. The story I heard was that the OneNote team went to like an elementary school and asked a bunch of students what they wanted to see. And a girl said, I want glitter pens. And so they're like, yeah, let's get some glitter pens. But as I said, reading, writing, taking notes, being able to highlight, this was a college level reading that my wife had, that she would highlight things and take notes, and all she carried around was her Surface. She didn't carry around a backpack anymore. So we had that. And that's coming then here to the end of our slide, unless Colleen, there's something else you'd want to point out.
So there is a ton of education on how to use a lot of these tools in the Microsoft Educator Center. Education.microsoft.com is where you can go to find deeper dives on a lot of what we just showed you, because we just showed you a lot of things, but we only showed you just barely scratched the surface. Adam and I could probably talk at you for hours about all of the great things that you can do, especially in OneNote in terms of accessibility. So I would encourage you to go to that, education.microsoft.com. You're also able to go, and if you are using the Educator Center, you can track that you attended the session using that promo code right there. That will get you some points if you're somebody that is accumulating points for something like your MIE expert badge at the end of the school year. The presenting, somebody just asked a question here for the presenting aids for PowerPoint Live. I'm assuming you're asking, yes, PowerPoint Live is only available in the online version. So if you go to your online portal at
Presenter Coach.
Yep,
Presenter Coach.
If you go to portal.office.com, log in with your school email and password, and then go to a PowerPoint, you should have the option to do Presenter Coach up along the slideshow.
And then PowerPoint Live is rolling out, but right now built in, ignore this one, this was an add-in from earlier. It'll just be right here under slideshow, and then you'll click subtitle settings, spoken language, what language for this one you would like, and then where would you like it on the slide. So it's very good. And again, there's plenty of languages in here that you can translate to. There's all different types of ones that you can use in here. They used to be Klingon, but it's not in here anymore. That's not fun.
Yeah, I think they took it out. Makes me sad.
Right? They used to be my little shtick that I used to do about it. So no more Klingon, I guess. It was in the Teams live event, so if anybody was playing around with the subtitles in there, they saw it. Klingon, I thought I made was an option. Maybe I didn't, but I thought I was just it. But you have that. Any other questions? We're going to hang around here. But I also do want to say, everybody, thank you for joining us at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning on your hectic e-learning, remote learning journey. But feel free to add questions in that Q&A, and we will continue to answer them.
Hey, Adam, can you go to ideaillinois.org so we can show the IDEA website? I am on the IDEA Illinois not governing board, but Western Suburbs Leadership Board. We are working on lots of events, at least for us in the Western Suburbs. There is a governing board or a leadership board for every area of the states. It's there we go, IDEA Illinois. We just missed the IdeaCon conference in the end of February. It's always a great conference to have here in the state. It's run so well, tons of resources, but that's not all that IDEA does. They've got events running every week of every month. They're for all sorts of levels. They're all focused on technology in some way, but as you can see right on that light blue tile, there's stuff on Apple, there's stuff on Google, there's ones like this, they're on Microsoft. If you are interested in joining, go to the website. You can register and become a member for free and get access to all of the different membership benefits that are available to you. If you are looking for PDH credit, I dropped the link for that in the chat window. You can click that bit.ly/Microsoft 323 to get PDH credit for attending today's webinar. Also, we have been Jenna says to go under the Learn table for IDEA for at-home learning. There we go. Ideas for at-home learning, that top link. There we go. So it looks like they have been pulling together tons of resources for us here, which is awesome. Questions from the quarantine. That's a great title. So with the slide deck and the recording, Adam, are you sending them to IDEA to send out to our attendees?
Yes, so I will share with Lindsay both the recording and the PowerPoint deck to have. Also, feel free again to email either one of us, both of us, if there's any other resources you want, or if you're like, hey, how do I use this Teams thingy you were showing us? How do we use OneNote, Teams in the classroom, whatever it may be, we'd be more than happy to help. But I can definitely share all this out.
All right, I am still answering a couple questions in the chat window. So if you did type one in, let us, or give it a second. And I think everything else has been addressed so far.
Perfect. I'm going to stop presenting, but it'll still won't end the call, so don't worry about that. We'll wait for a little bit for everybody to do all the different Q&As. But even though it now says this little gray screen.
I just got 2 questions about whether or not the questions and the resources from the chat also get captured. Adam, do you know if these questions get captured?
I believe they all get captured. I believe
Okay.
the chat does get captured.
If not, I will copy it before we close out of it.
That's probably a good backup plan.